always nice to have an episode that gives me more meat to chew on, you know? And I do have a little bit of meat to chew on today. Good. And obviously the dub haters are going to hate me for this because this is another point for the dub. But what's funny is that it basically boils down to a matter of dialogue for this one. And that's the first thing I want to talk about. The dialogue in the sub is kind of dog shit. Like, I hate myself for saying that, but first of all, Noah is extremely petty in the sub. Like, almost obnoxiously petty in the sub. And Noah in the dub is just generic asshole. Now, I get that that's the kind of the point. That the whole point is Noah's supposed to be this petty child, right? Because of his backstory stuff that we'll get to in, well, 2 weeks from now. But the problem with. Honestly, the problem with that is. 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 How do I phrase this? I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't like Noah in the Japanese version. I think is the nicest way I can put that. I don't like Noah in the Japanese version. I find him to be absolutely fucking petty, pathetic, and irritating. And I keep having that stupid camera crap. It's years down the line, unfortunately. All I've got to work with is this laptop. Anyways, what was I saying? Right. Uh, so. How do I phrase this? So, I will. The other part of the thing is that I prefer the bad I prefer the comedy, right? Because they don't. Try to play up more of a mystery angle, right? Because which makes sense with the title of the episode. Mystery deepens Noah's identity in the Japanese version, but I actually like the comedy more in the English version. I don't like the gang still being fucking stupid and being so mistrustful of fucking of Tristan being turned into the robot monkey, which I didn't even actually mention last time, but there it is. But which I forget it which one he turned into. Ooh. So give me a second here. Acrobat Monkey. That was the name of it. Hit. So yeah, he gets turned into Acrobat Monkey apparently, which actually will have an appearance later on. Or am I wrong? Oh, okay, no, it's just that's what it's modeled after. Sorry, Acrobatic Monkey is what he's modeled after. He's not actually supposed to be a dual monster. I thought he was, but but no, the closest is he's modeled after Acrobat Monkey. So my apologies. I will have to do some actual editing this week. I probably have to with last week too, but that's beside the point. Anyways, uh, words. I will go ahead and I will say this. While I do find Noah to be incredibly obnoxious, I do find the gang kind of shitty because Kaiba's like, "Stay out of this. This is family business, right?" Which makes sense. He's clearly upset. Like Seto is completely upset at the situation right now because, of course, Mokuba is his berserk button. You know, you might as well say you push the Mokuba button. You shouldn't have done that. You know. You don't do that. That's one of the few things you don't do to Seto Kaiba. You do not kidnap his little brother. You know. Hell, that's actually something that I appreciate that will only happen like one more time in the entire series. It's only going to happen one more time. And it's for an incredibly stupid reason, but we'll talk about that when we get there. As that won't be until season 5, you know. In fact, what's funny is if you count the actual Battle City Finals, if you count Alcatraz Tower as a separate arc, that means we're not going to get to that until we have to go through 3.5 entire arcs before we can even touch that. Granted, there's the one arc is only like, what did I say it was, like 20 episodes or something stupid like that. And then we have, of course, the 40 episodes of season 4, and then like 13 episodes for Grand Championship, and then finally we're there. Nobody has commented saying they want capsule monsters, so there you go. You pretty much have until the end of season 4 to to kind of get that in, because to kind of comment that, because once I get to that point, it's like, okay. Yeah, that point is basically where it's at. Because once I get rolling on Grand Championship, I'm going to be like probably just taking a couple of days off streaming and just cranking the Grand Championship videos out just bam, 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 to just get it out of the way. It'll be interesting if there are any rant views within Grand Championship. I easily could. There's a part of me that could say Grand Championship is rant view, but unfortunately, there's the problem of, well, Seto's duel during Grand Championship, which is actually freaking ridiculously awesome to the point of insanity. You know? Excuse me, still recovering from the cold. Same day I recorded last week's video, so. Anyways. In fact. Oh, right here. I'm going to take a lozenge. There we go. So Noah mind controls Mokuba. Yeah, this is totally you being superior to Seto. Which is actually something Seto points out, by the way. Yugi and Anzu happen upon that old mansion. Interesting thing. I wonder why it's so decrepit, though. Because Seto kind of took over that mansion. But whatever. They find the picture. Apparently, Gosaburo's age is the wrench in the Japanese version, and not the fact that Noah hasn't aged in 6 years. Which I guess is still part of the wrench, but at the same time, yeah. Also, Anzu, when they split off in that highway tunnel, I prefer it in the English version because women's intuition, which leads them to a mansion with the sound of a crying baby in it, Or, I have no idea. And Yugi being like, well, that makes two of us. I've got no better ideas, so. I mean, you could have split up, but what the fuck do I know? Anyway. I find it interesting that Seto claims that Damon was lying, and that Seto claims that Damon was lying. So that's when the shocking reveal happens, and it's dun dun dun. I'm your stepbrother, which, yeah, okay. And he's going through to talk up all of this stuff. And talking about how he was supposed to be Seto was supposed to be motivation so that Noah could train harder and yada yada yada. Makes sense. Makes sense. I will say Noah's dialogue fits better in the dub because Noah talks about Seto being his fake rival and how Seto is supposedly egotistical as fuck. Yeah, that fits Dub Kaiba more so than Seto. Seto is still egotistical, like I said. He's still driven by hatred, anger, and hatred. I stand behind that. I have seen nothing that can change my mind that he's not, haunted by, haunted ended, and his rage, he's freaking is a mask for all that. He hates his past. There's no nice way to say that. But whatever. But yeah, and that's all the other thing. And then the big five, of course, try to steal the bodies by force because they're all petty asshats, apparently. He and then Noah flings them all away. Now, the thing about Noah being Ingosaboro's son, it does work when you know all the facts. This episode is kind of the wrong episode to really talk about this in full. That opportunity is actually something we're going to have to discuss in. I do not remember the name of the episode. Give me a moment. So close yet so far. Is what the dub will call that the episode where we'll really have to talk about it. Kaiba Family's Darkness, I believe, is the Japanese name of the episode, and it's the third last episode of the arc. The one where we reveal the true identity of the true villain behind all of this, which I'm not gonna say it for now, but it should be pretty obvious. Pretty obvious who it is, but I digress. Yes. I know I'm being kind of meh about it, but at the same time it's like well, the frickin' shows being more irritating about it than it should be. It should be at this point, so yeah. Kind of annoying when you think about it. But anyways, is there anything else I want to say? I closed my notebook because, yeah, I don't think there's anything else I need to say about this episode. This episode, I enjoyed this episode for the most part, but this is effectively on my skip list. It is, I believe I gave it a C rank. Give me a moment. Yes, I gave it a C. Average episode. It's not a bad episode by any stretch of the imagination. But the problem is that it's an episode that is meant to just kind of get you on board and kind of more continue to build intrigue, right? It's one of those keep watching kind of episodes, which only works, in my opinion, once. Excuse me. It only works once. And it's watching, being intrigued enough to keep watching, right? Because when you know everything, you just want them to get to the point. And the big five trying to take over the gang's bodies, well, by force, that's just pointless fluff at that point. And I didn't even bring up the pointlessness of Merrick's scenes. Because he finally has this scene in this episode. And it's completely pointless. There is literally nothing to it. Do it. He comes out of the blimp, is wondering what the fuck's taking so long. Is wondering if they lost because only he can send them to hell. Again, Shadow Realm, hell, it fits. Whatever. There's nothing for me to say. The Merrick scene in this episode is pointless. But yeah, I guess that's it. The only thing left for me to say, honestly, I think, is nothing. I got nothing. This week is a very short one because I got nothing. I have absolutely nothing. Average episode at best. The end, I guess. I'm always annoyed when I don't have anything to talk about with an episode, even when I think I'm going to. As I said, there is a bit of meat to chew on here. Specifically with the whole Noah angle and, the whole mystery about who he is and yada yada yada. But then when I started talking it out, it was like, well, actually, it's not that meaty at all, is it? Excuse me. This is a chicken wing. I thought this was a steak. No, this is a chicken wing. And unfortunately, it's one of those stupid dinky chicken wings. It's not even one of those like decent sized chicken wings. No, it's one of the dinky ones, and it's just one. What the hell? Maybe I'm just hungry. I don't know. But yeah, no, like I said, there's nothing for me to no real meat for me to chew on. The fake rival thing is stupid. The whole, which is funny because I guess I could talk about how the fact that Kaiba brings up a good question. How the hell is it that I've never seen you before? Which is a point to keep in the back of your mind for a bit later, by the way. Hey. Anywho. Yeah, I'm just gonna chop this off because I'm rambling at this point, and like I said, that's usually my cue to cut off. No secret. Kind of a bland episode. If I'm watching it in either version, I'm watching it in English, but that's beside the point. Sorry, phlegm. That's what editing is for. Or similar to this. Sorry about that. I will cut that out. I will absolutely cut that out. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Like I said, not a lot to chew on this week, and I'm rambling, so that's my cue to sign out. So until next time, this is Blue Wolf Alex of the Lore Walkers signing out. Have a good one. Duel standby.